thanks very much for joining us, guys. Great to see you both. One of Cheltenham's most popular strike partnerships of all time, I'd say, let alone in recent years. So 44 goals between you in the 01-02 season. So we're going to have a little look back at those days and what it was about, how it was to play with each other and why you think you had such a fruitful partnership. So Jules, you've been at the club a year before Tony came in. And you started well. I think you were top of the league. You had a good game against Watford, but the goals didn't really flow for you that year, did they, in terms of your own personal tally?
No.
What was it like? What was it like for you that year?
I was waiting for Tony to come, to be honest. No, the club. Well, I mean, obviously I joined, and Grace was the main focal point of the team. So you've got to dislodge somebody that's really popular with the fans and doing okay as well, playing well, scoring goals. I think he scored like 16, 17 goals that season. And I was commuting between Wales to Cheltenham and then to the Midlands as well for my older daughter and my oldest daughter. So, yeah, the travelling was playing a major part, and the upheaval of moving and travelling back and forth, really. So that's a contributor to it. But obviously, putting the ball in the back of the net, you still got to do it. But so I'll put it down to a number of factors. We lost a lot of players the first year. I think, is that the year that Bruffy got injured and Jamie? Yeah. I mean, Bruffy, to be fair, he wouldn't be crossing me any balls, would he? But Jamie was there, and I think Russell got injured at one point. So there was no left-hand side. And we didn't really have a right-hand side because Martin and people like you, he was still inconsistent. Yeah. No.
But you got 5, and it wasn't a bad season for the team. Just missed out on the playoffs with a lot of injuries. But you played up front with people like Jason White. You mentioned Neil Grayson. Martin played up front a little bit. But really, Tony, we'll come on to you now, Tony. You seem to be on and off a little bit with joining Cheltenham at the start of the following year. So 2001, it seemed to be on, then it was off. Then you eventually signed quite late on in pre-season, didn't you? So what do you remember about that summer, and how did Steve persuade you to actually join Cheltenham?
Well, to be honest with you, I'd had a really good meeting with Steve. Everything was fine, but I had a few sort of family issues at the time, and the old travelling thing was the biggest issue for me. So it was something that I've obviously, because where I've always lived, I've been able to travel into work and not be a problem. But obviously it was more or less near enough 2 hours away, so it was a big issue at the time. And I guess it was just getting my head around it, whether I could travel every day, whether I'd have to move, which obviously having children, you don't want to move. So in the end, obviously I didn't do a pre-season, I missed out on pre-season. But then Steve got back in touch with me and another chat with him and decided, it was time for a fresh challenge.
Yeah, Steve tells a story about, I think, did you meet him at a service station? I think he agreed on everything with you. Then he went into the board for a meeting to see whether they could sign you or not. And he said to them, well, I've already signed him. That service station meeting was quite a pivotal moment for you, really, wasn't it? Because you had a good time at Port Vale, but what happened what happened in your first year at Cheltenham was brilliant, wasn't it?
Oh, loved it. Even my second year, to be honest with you. I mean, the 2 years that I was at Cheltenham, if I'm being totally honest, after it's finished, you look back on things and you think, do you know what? That was a fantastic 2 years. Regardless of what happened, it was a fantastic 2 years for me personally. And obviously because everybody at the club made me feel so welcome. And, especially the lads. I mean, on my first day for pre-season training, I walked down the corridor and all the lads, I think it was Neil Grayson who started singing, "Hi-ho!" Obviously with me being a bit of a short arse, so it was a nice welcome.
Yeah. Most people look short next to Jules, don't they? But Jules, what was it like? Tony, did you know much about Tony when he came in? Do you remember what your first impressions of him were?
Yeah, he was small. No, no. I don't know if Tony knows this, but when I was playing for Swansea, I don't even know if it ever got that far, that John Hollins tried to sign him. Tried to say, I'm going to try and sign Tony Naylor, and then I knew of Tony because obviously he's a legend at that part of the world, the potteries, and I'm not far from that part of the world anyway. And then literally, Steve Cotterill, like the gaffer, he kept everything quiet with sign-ins and that. You'd go to a game, and I think even with when he signed Lee Williams, we just turned in change rooms and Willow turned up. I mean, the lads that have obviously come down in the car, that was what it was. And he turned up one day, Chris Alumu was there. He was just, he kept it all close to his chest. And then these people turn up. But the one with Jack, it was like on, off, on, off, on, off. And then, we eventually got him and that. And then I got injured, I think. I definitely damaged my eye with retina. And then I think you started with Grace, I think a couple of games. And then the gaffer said, look, you need to come back. And the specialist was saying you could be out for another 6-7 weeks. It was damaged. I think it was back after 3 games.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, Tony. I don't know if you remember your debut, but it was at Luton away, and you actually came on 4 Jules in that game. It wasn't till, I think, Swansea away, which obviously would have been a big day for you, Jules. I think Swansea away was your first time where you started up front together, got a 2-2 draw. But Tony, would you say it's fair to say that you were playing catch up a little bit with your fitness because I think you trained with Macclesfield a little bit, didn't you? But you probably didn't have a proper pre-season.
Yeah, no, massively. And to be fair, obviously when you've not done a pre-season, and then you've got to try and catch up everybody else. I was miles behind. I was carrying a bit of weight, not fit at all. So trying to do the extra work during the training sessions to get ready to be able to play was really difficult. But obviously the lads were fantastic and made me feel really welcome. And once you start to get to a certain level of fitness, then it becomes a lot easier. But at first I was really struggling. Even in the games, I think it probably took me maybe 7-8 games to start feeling anywhere near fit.
Yeah, and Jules, I mean, Cheltenham had just missed out on the playoffs for the 2 previous seasons. I think Steve really saw Tony as the man to bring that little bit of extra magic up front, but he really did bring out the best in you. When did you start to think, this could be a good little partnership here, little and large up front?
I think it was Southend away. I think we were on a Friday night. We won 1-0.
Yeah. And
Jack done a little flick. I think I won the header, and then Jack held it up, done a little back through, and then I hit it with my left foot, and it went in, and then it was like it clicked. But at the end of the day, I've been crying out for somebody like Jack. Jack will say, we never worked on anything in training.
Yeah.
Never. I'm going to win an header, and he knows where it's going to go, because you only had to watch games. I'm always going to head it inside. And Jack was, after he got even in his games when he said he weren't fit, he was still in the right place. His touch. So it was no partnership to work on like you think, the gaffer got his fit, basically, and then said, right, Booker, you take a goal kick and smash it straight on Jules.
Yeah.
I win the header. It goes into Tony Naylor. Whereas in the first year, when I was playing, he'd push Michael Duffo up from right back to try and win an header to diffuse the centre halves, and then I think he's just realised that me win my header. Tony gets hold of it, and then fortunately we scored a lot of goals off the back of that. But it was never really worked on, and let's say Tony come in and done different.
Yeah, Tony, you scored a lot of goals for Crewe, and particularly a good time at Port Vale, I think, didn't you? Had a really good period there. And what was Jules like to play up front with compared to some of the other top strikers that you would have been playing up front with earlier? Earlier it was a very good career.
I think, to be honest with you, I think it was easy playing with Jules, because as Jules just said, every time Jules went for an header, he would always flick it inside. So you just had to try and make sure that you got in front of the centre half, and you could hold the ball up. And Jules was, for a big man, Jules was pretty quick, and he was good. He was good on the ground. So, it wasn't difficult. But like Jules said, nothing was worked on. We just sort of hit it off straight away. And I'm one of those players where I will try things. If I'm around the edge of the area and I see somebody's making a run to get in, I will try a little back heel. Yeah, a lot of the time it doesn't come off, and you get a bit of a bollocking from the manager, but you try these things. But fortunately, like say, me and Jules just hit it off straight away, and it was really easy. It was really easy to play alongside him.
Either of you guys remember going to Hull that season? It was start of November. Yeah, 5-1. Jules scored, but Cotterill very importantly came out after the game and said even though you'd lost 5-1, he wouldn't swap any of their players for any of your players. So was that an important one? Because the way you responded to that, it was almost the sort of seemed to be the making of the season, that result.
Well, to be honest with you, I think if I'm being totally honest with you, what he went out and said to the press is not exactly what he said in the dressing room.
He had a mate there, didn't he?
To be honest with you, there was a few choice words in that dressing room. But to be fair to Steve, his man management was fantastic. But no, yeah, we did really well after that game, but that was a shocker.
Jules, did you ever get on the wrong? Did you ever get a proper dressing down from Cotterill, or was he? Did he always try and be positive with you?
Every day. every day he had a pop at me. Every day. And it wasn't a pop in terms of I think he realised the second season that he needed to be pushing me. And I had I think you'll probably talk about him later, Keith Hill as well. But I think between them they both realised that if you just need to just keeping me on. Go on, keep doing it, do this. And if you do something wrong, you do something wrong. There's plenty of times he used to phone up and go, I know where you're drinking today, sort of thing. And I'm like, where? How do you know that? He was just, I'm not even know. I'm at the cinema. I'm at the cinema because he used to give me free tickets. So he was just like that, just keeping me on my toes. So yeah, every day he'd be on my case, which I enjoyed.
So, Jules, were you a lot more settled that season? So I think you met Catherine that season, didn't you? And you stopped travelling down, and moving around the country. Did you live with Keith that season? And what?
Yeah.
And, as you mentioned, Keith, also, how much of an influence was he, Keith Hill, on your, the way you looked after yourself?
Well, first of all, Keith was a massive influence in terms of. It was the first time in my career where we had Wednesdays off, and I trained on a Wednesday. So I went. Me and Keith used to go boxing in a gym in town and do the skipping and that. And it was the first time, so I sort of gained that edge. And then he was like, he used to be, who was the lad that played for Cheltenham, played for Everton, Brett Angel. Yeah. And he said, aim for him, see what he's done. And he was the first one that was sort of in my career. Nobody's ever given me any coaching. I basically went from pub football to non-league to the Football League without really any coaching or positioning. So you find that when you start games and then you get dropped, you soon realise you're in the wrong position. So you sort of work it out yourself. But I think Keith was the first person in my life that actually took the time to sort of say, look, you need to do this and do this properly, cut that food out, still have a beer. It was just like work on the Wednesday. If you have a beer on the Tuesday, work on the Wednesday sort of thing. Work it off. Yeah.
Would he cook for you like healthy stuff? Was that important side of it as well?
Yeah, he used to cook because he enjoyed it. He was bored because he was living away from his family, and we was living in the house until we had Jamie, who used to eat avocados, the tightest man I've ever met. Right, he used to buy the second-hand avocados in the shop, and he'd be there chopping it up, trying to make a dinner out of it. Tightest man ever, right? And then there's Keith. He'd get the chicken we get the chicken, the pasta, and then obviously, as you touched on, I met Catherine, and then like, I'll see if I was going to live with her now. She can sort my life out, and we're still together, and she's still sorting my life out. Bless her.
So it was a big move, a big move in terms of your life move to Cheltenham as well, in terms of the future you got with Catherine now.
Yeah, and the two girls. It was normal. I'd gone through a rocky sort of split before, and then obviously come and met Catherine, and Rick and Shirl sort of took me in under their wings, and brother-in-law Jace, and and I don't know. I think what have I been here now, love? Oh, she's texting her mate.
You've been in Cheltenham. You've been 20 years since you signed for Cheltenham, isn't it now? So
is it? Yeah. So I've been here 20 years. So obviously. She puts up with me. So,
cheers, Jules. So, Tony, were you travelling down from the Potteries during that season. And did you stay down a little bit, or were you up and down the motorway pretty much every day?
To be fair, I was quite lucky because obviously Chris Banks was club captain at the time, and he lived in Stone, which was sort of like probably about 25, 30 minutes away from where I lived. So I used to leave mine and go to Banks's, and then we'd travel up together. I'd stay up the odd night, but most days, because Banco was going back home, so we just took it in turns, and Banco had a club car, so it made it easier to travel up. And we would meet Mark Yates and Neil Howarth on the way and pick them up too.
Brilliant.
So it was good.
Yeah. So let's have a chat about some of the key games then from that season, because we mentioned the whole game, but the FA Cup run started at Kettering away, and you two got 2 each.
Yeah.
But I remember that I think they took the lead, didn't they? I think they might have had a chance to go 2-0 up as well, but you obviously stormed back and won it 6-1. And that was the start of what was a really memorable FA Cup run. What do you remember about those early rounds of trying to get through and obviously draw a big one?
I think obviously, first of all, when you go a goal down, you know, the pressure's on you. But luckily enough, you know, it didn't take too long, you know, for us to get a goal back. And once we got that and built the confidence, you know, it ended up being a really good result. But obviously then when you start to play and then you come up against Oldham, where you know it's going to be a real tough game. But to be fair, I mean, I think most people probably think that we used to just lump the ball up to Jules and that was it. But he had some good players in the team. You know, and we could play a little bit as well, which made, you know, the Oldham game was a really, really good game for us. And I don't think there was anybody who really had a bad game. And I think we needed to be on top form, and we was. And obviously then went on and played Burnley. Yeah.
I mean, that Oldham game was the first time Cheltenham they've got through to the 4th round, but you got 1 each at Hinckley, I think, didn't you, in the 2nd round? And then Tony, you got both against Oldham, and then Jules, you obviously scored against Burnley. But how exciting was that cup run? Because it was probably, it was the best run Cheltenham had ever had. And you two in this photo behind me, you know, got a lot of publicity out of it as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, to be honest with you, I mean, it was great. Obviously, me and Jules, you know, the little and large thing, you know, which everybody sort of like jumped on, was the big thing. But having said that, you can't take away from the fact is that it was a good all-round team performances that got us to where we were. It wasn't just about me and Jules. You know, yeah, the partnership was great and we did really well together, but it was a real team effort.
Yeah. One man that, I mean, there's a lot of players contributed very well that season, but one man also that came in initially on loan from Mansfield and then signed permanently was Lee Williams. And Jules, I was like, well, you both benefited from Lee Williams' wing play, but how good was it having him on the right? He didn't mess about, Lee, did he? He got the ball in pretty early and, you know,
he dropped his shoulder and put the ball in the box. There you go. Over to what I need to do. And then, obviously, if I didn't score, Jack would pick up the rebound and score. So, yeah, massively. And then Russell got his fitness a little bit on the left. And I say a little bit because Russ has never been fit in his life. He's probably fitter now than he is when he was playing. So on that wing there, it was two great people. I think Jamie was left back, weren't he? And then between Dave Griffin and Neil Howarth, who played right back, really.
Yeah, Archie and Yatesy in the middle. Obviously, Devaney played a bit as well, but Russ sort of kept Martin out a lot of that season with his form on the left, didn't he?
Yeah, his quality was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, didn't really need to run, did he, Russ? So you've already sort of touched on Oldham, Tony, but you got the brace and made a bit of history getting through to the 4th round. But the Burnley game, you know, what an occasion that was. 7,000 in the ground. I think their keeper got injured, didn't he? And Jules, you scored header, and Russ scored the first with the free kick. But you deserved to beat them, didn't you? And they were going well in the Championship at the time, I think.
I think, to be honest with you, I think it was one of those where I think after beating Oldham, you know, obviously everybody's confidence was up and we didn't actually fear anybody. And in the Burnley game, I thought we played really, really well, to be fair. And like I say, talking about Russ and Lee Williams, not only could they just, you know, take a touch and put a great ball in, they were good footballers as well. You know, their link-up play was really good. You know, if they couldn't find Jules at the back post, they would just play a little ball around the corners for myself, then get it back and then put the ball in the box, which was good set-up play. And obviously Jules always got on the end of things. But no, I mean, the Burnley game was a tough game, but I still think that we thoroughly deserved to win that and go through.
And then I think you probably got a good draw, but away to one of the teams near the top of the Championship, you could have got bigger. But what was the reaction when that draw came out? Because West Brom were going well at the time, but they weren't obviously a huge club. I
think for me personally, obviously, it didn't matter who was playing. It was a case of, you know, obviously it was another massive occasion for Cheltenham Town. You know, yes, it would have been nicer to have had one of the big boys, but having said that, the way you look at it is, if you're going to play one of the big boys and you get beat 6-7-0, compared to, obviously, we got West Brom, we went down there and we lost 1-0, but we put on a good show. I don't think anybody expected us to win that game, you know, but it is what it is. And like I say, and West Brom was a big tie for us.
Jules, did you the goal scoring form you were in at the time, did you feel like you could cause anyone problems, like scoring against Burnley and then, you know, giving West Brom a real scare?
West Brom was an hard game. Darren Moore in it, and the other I can't remember the other centre half. I played with him at Forest Green. Butler. Was
it Burgess?
Centre half. I can't remember centre half anyway. So it was a battle, and I always remember I took a shot when I should have just pushed the ball into Tony about 5. So he'd have been in the 18-yard box and got a clear shot, and I took a shot, and that's the one standout of that game. And then I think Grace or somebody didn't mark the lad that scored. I'm useless with names in football. I ain't got a clue.
Dicchio scored, didn't he?
And Grace didn't pick him up on the for the corner, and I think he buried the corner. But I think out of that game, we lost 1-0. We did ourselves well, credit. But I think if we'd had that game at home, I think I'd have fancied our chances, because they wouldn't have liked the tightness of the ground. There was a physical side, but I just think if we was at home, I think we'd have at least got a replay. But I'd have fancied our chances, if I'm honest, at that time.
Yeah,
confidence was sky high.
Yeah, and the goals kept flowing, didn't they? Because Tony, once you got up and running, I think you got a 9 in 6. Jules, you were scoring, 6 in 5 games, and once you went out of the cup, was it all geared towards trying to get top 3? Because that looked on the cards for a lot of the time, didn't it? You go up automatically.
Yeah, I think that's what it was all about from day one. I'll never forget, obviously, when I first spoke to Cots, and he just turned around and said, listen, you will be the difference that gets us promoted. And when somebody gives you that sort of confidence, it makes it easier to go out, and play. And for me, for the first, I think it was 9-10 games, I couldn't hit a ball door. And then somebody shoots from the edge of the box and it hits me on the backside and goes in. And then from then on, you go on a run, which is ridiculous. But I think the fact that I got that goal was massive, not just for me, but for the rest of the lads, and the way that they reacted towards me. And like I say, and we just went on from there. And I don't think we played many bad. I don't think there was any time that we come off the field and gone, you know what, we were really poor today, apart from that old game.
And Halifax and Macclesfield.
I remember
Halifax away.
Halifax away and Macclesfield away is where the gaffer had the right pop at me. And I was just like,
Bookie got sent off at Halifax, didn't he?
Yeah, I think Jason White played right back and scored his only ever goal. It's mad. Things like that stick in my mind, because Whitey never, ever stopped on about the goal. It was like, give it a rest, White. You've been here 2 years.
But if I remember right, Jules, as well, Halifax was the game where we were doing the warm-up, and I was struggling. I was limping. Obviously, my tendonitis was playing up, and I couldn't actually run. And I'd said to Steve before the game, after doing the warm-up, listen, I'm really, really struggling. And I think Banksy put on one of those, they call them like a Veron strap, a patella strap, and managed to just somehow get through the game. But I was really struggling at that time. But no, that wasn't a good game, I must admit.
I think it looks like you came off at half time, Tony, in that one.
Yeah.
For Neil Grayson. So you got through 45. I think it was 1-1 at half time, and then it obviously went a bit wrong in the second half with Bookie getting sent off. But do you remember you had a big win against Kidderminster at home where Tony, you scored, and then Nathan Tyson came on and scored, and then Scunthorpe away, I think you both got one each, and that was a big result, wasn't it, going there and winning?
Well, like I said, I think any game away from home is a big result. If I think you go there looking not to get beat a lot of the time, but we had the confidence where we were going to places and we were looking to win. We weren't looking to get a point. We were always going to get 3 points. We always knew we had goal threat, and we knew we were quite tough at the back as well.
Yeah. Just before we go on to look at the run-in, Tony, you mentioned how persuasive Steve was and, telling you were going to make a difference. Jules, what did he say to you? Because Cheltenham had just missed out on the playoffs the year before you came. Did he say to you, we're in this to win promotion? The goal is promotion straight away. Is that how he sold it to you?
To be honest, I wasn't signing for the club. I was going to Brighton. I was signing for Brighton. I'd left Swansea because there was a free transfer. It was the first time, I think, a few clubs had offered like 100, 150 grand for me. And Swansea were like dragging their heels on the contract, and we was going for the championship. In the end, we won the league.
Yeah.
And John Hollins just couldn't make a decision, and I thought, well, I'll make that one easy. I'm going, and in my head, before we'd even won promotion, I think when I got injured the last 2 games of the season, so in my head I was going, and Corky was my manager at Swansea, and he was the assistant manager at Brighton. They'd already sort of, people say about tapping up in football. It went on all the time at half time, coming off the pitch. He said, "You fancy coming down?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll have a chat with you." And I went down, and to be honest, I didn't like Mickey Adams. And even Siri's agreed to me. It's just answered. I just went down to Brighton and just didn't sit right with Mickey Adams, and then come away and. I never used an agent. I couldn't understand footballers that used agents. Yes. Not in our thing. If you couldn't say what you wanted to earn, then you're a fool for giving somebody 15-20% of your wages in my eyes. But you could use the PFA to check the legal side of your contract. And I got on well with Clive Whitehead, and he said, "I'll come down to Brighton with you for the day." And on the way back, Steve phoned up about a player, and he went, "Well, I'm just with Jules." And he said, "Oh, he hadn't signed for Brighton." He went, No, it's not done. Can we have a word?" And went the next day. And to be honest, I was there for about 3 or 4 hours, and he just sold his vision. And you know what Tony will tell you, he's like, he just so passionate. And I'd met him at Cheltenham races when I was playing for Swansea, and I think as Cheltenham got in a conference or we played him in a friendly down at the Vetch. I spoke to him for 40 minutes, and he sort of left an impression on the 2 times I'd met him before. And he called me, he said, "We'll do this." I asked for the number 9. He said, "No, Gracie's got it." So that sort of then puts him, I think, well, why are you signing somebody who's 6'4" that dominantly wears number 9, yet you're keeping, so... But in the end, yeah, the deal was done. And I must have liked it because I'm still living here.
You got 19, didn't you, in the end?
I don't know. Is that the shirt I wore? I ain't got a clue.
First season, I think you and him got the training top, yeah.
Yes, you were 19, Jules.
Jason White was number 10. Jason White was 10, wasn't he? So, and Grayson was 9. But, really, the team didn't change that much. In those, so Cheltenham have been in the league for 3 years, but only I'd say the strikers changed, and Lee Williams. The rest of the team, I know some other lads like Keith Hill came in and Steve Jones, but they didn't play much, and it was quite a settled back 4. Duffo moved into centre back from right back or right wing, and it was your goals really that got Cheltenham to. Do you remember going to Carlisle knowing that a win would take you up automatically? That was a frustrating night because I remember you were all over him, weren't you? But couldn't put the ball in the net for some reason. It ended up 0-0.
Is that near the end of the season?
Yeah, it was the second last game. So you had Plymouth away to come, and you went up there.
We was dead on our leg. Yeah, we was dead. As much on Tony, I think it was an old side anyway, weren't it? Like in terms, if you looked at the age, apart from Dufo, Martin. The basis of the team were quite an old side, and I think you played that many games. We played the FA Cup. We played, and don't forget that Division 3 is quite a physical league as well. I just think it was a game too many for us that to go and get a result, because Carlisle's an hard place to go at the best of times.
Yeah.
And then a disappointment. Did we have to stay the night or something? Because he didn't want us to travel back, and it was like, what do I do? I've never played a game of football in my life and then gone to an hotel to sleep.
Yeah.
So it was like, because you're wired after a game of football. So it was, in my eyes, it was the worst game. And then to top off coming back from Carlisle, didn't we go to Plymouth?
Yeah,
was that the last game on the Saturday?
We had Macclesfield on the Saturday, Carlisle away on the Tuesday. And if you won that, you'd have gone up automatically. Then you had to go to Plymouth on the last day, who were going to be crowned champions. Again, a win would have taken you up, but obviously they were a very good side then, weren't they, Plymouth?
Yeah,
remember that one, Tony?
Do you
remember much about that one?
I remember. Yeah, I remember the Plymouth game because obviously, I mean, like Jules said, there comes a time during the season when you're feeling heavy-legged. Decisions don't go your way. You lose that little bit of luck, which is what you need sometimes. But I have to be totally honest, hands up, Plymouth were far better than us on the day. We didn't deserve to win that game. And if when I look back at it, and I think any footballer will tell you this, getting automatic promotion is fantastic if you're champions. If you're second, you don't get to celebrate really. But if you can get to the playoff final and you can win that, there is no better way of getting promotion. And I've been lucky this season before with Port Vale, having gone to Millennium Stadium in the LDV, and we won that. So for me, 2 years on the run, I was very, very fortunate to go to Millennium Stadium and win both games. In a game that, to be fair, against Rushden, I didn't play particularly well. I was still struggling with my knee, and I think that didn't help the team really. There was probably a time when maybe five games to go, I should have come out of the team. Because I wasn't playing particularly well. But as Steve just kept saying, just keep going. He said, and we'll get there.
Yeah. What do you remember about the first Hartlepool game? Because obviously you missed out at Plymouth. They were a good side. You knew you were going to have to go and play Hartlepool in the semis. And I think Steve pulled a bit of a surprise with the selection up there, Jules, didn't he? Because I think he played Grace Ride on the left. Tony, you were given a rest. But he obviously put you back in for the second leg. But Jules, I think I seem to remember you were up front of your own that day, weren't you?
I was just going to ask, did I play?
You did, yeah.
I can't.
You did.
No, because I can't remember. Yeah.
I know the feeling, Jules.
Yes, it was. Weren't it? He was in orange or something. Yeah, the orange kit.
Orange, yeah. Grace scored the equaliser right at the end. Yeah,
there was Hartlepool was an hard place to go. The best, any games up north tend to be hard games in that division, and it was difficult. The pitch is hard at that time because there's no money in that league to look after the pitches. Yeah, and then we scored, but we scored 1-0, and then somebody said, away goals, and then somebody said, they're in away goals. So I was like, whatever. And it was an hard game, and then but you look back, but all I can remember is going like, flipping out. We've been here to Carlisle, somewhere else, down to Plymouth, and then you get a game away to bloody Hartlepool. And it's like, it's just travelling, and I get bored easily. So sitting on a coach for like 38 weeks of the year is the most boring thing in the world for me.
Yeah.
What did you used to do on the coach? Because there was no iPads or anything like that in those days. So what did you do? Play cards or just chat, or what did you used to pass the time with?
Well, for me, I'd play cards. I wasn't very good, but I did it to stop the boredom. But no, it's like you say. You see, I don't understand. It's like you see players now; they're getting off coaches and they've all got headphones on, and yet people are saying, "Well, they've got to concentrate on the game." Well, surely that's a distraction. I think when you see these footballers today, I just think, what the hell's going on? It's like they're supposed to be preparing for a game, but it doesn't look like it. No, nowadays it was totally different.
It was a good laugh. I mean, I'd had like a different. Cheltenham was very. The gaffer didn't like sort of messing about and things like that. I mean, you do little silly things and bit of banter. I mean, but I'd gone from the opposite where we'd won the league at Swansea because it's just pure characters in the team, and you think you played Carlisle away and coming back to Swansea, and it was party central all the way back, and people didn't wear trainers, they wear the flip flops, and they'd be reading the paper, and all of a sudden your toes are on fire because they put paper in there, and so the madness. So I went from that madness to and to be honest, a drinking culture, because that's what it was there in that era. To sitting with the gaffer, and it was quite serious. And if you'd lost a game or drew a game, they were the worst games. Even I took up the game of Uno. Like, because I was like, this is just going to drive me mental. Shane Higgs got a pack of cards. He'd saved up for 3 years to buy this pack of Uno cards. And so I even got in with that. I think I even played with Dave Griffin. I thought, why not? But I'm no good on the coach. I'm just like, as the lads say, I'm just a big gay giraffe, and I'm just like, oh, what shall I do? But,
so if you'd had bad results, Steve was very serious and wanted it quiet. What was he a bit more? If you'd had a win, was he all right? Did everyone was able to have a bit of a laugh on the coach, or was it still quite serious?
Still quite serious, I'd say.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say he sort of like let his hair down, because obviously when one game finished, he was always looking to the next one. And I think, I mean, you can't fault him, because obviously, you know, his record says everything about from where Cheltenham started and where they finished. You know.
Yeah.
You know, so he's obviously doing something right. But I think when you're used to different cultures, like for me and Jules, it was, you know, straight after a game, you know, the coach driver would be getting all the cans of lager out and putting them all out the tables, and everybody would be wasted by the time they got back. But obviously that wasn't the case.
I don't think we really ever had the beer on the coach.
No, I can't remember.
Even after the playoff final, it was like, I'm thinking, oh, where's the beers? But to be honest, I was absolutely emotionally drained after that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a strange. Yeah, it was. You just have to adapt to it. And as he made it as professional as he could with the budget he had, it's probably done miracles really with where we went. I mean, we went Germany, Spain before Tony come, because obviously the club had to stop that when Tony come. We never went away again, did we? No. So I've got the girls coming in now, taking photos of me because I've put makeup on. Because Tony told me it was fancy dress.
Let's have a little chat about the Hartlepool home game then, guys. So you've fallen behind in the first game and come back with a 1-1, which was a decent result, even if away goals didn't count. And then they scored again in the Wadden Road game, 1-0 up in the 17th minute. And then Lee Williams scored an absolute screamer with his left foot, didn't he? Do you remember that one? Flying in the celebration?
Mm.
That was an unbelievable goal, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, Willow didn't score too many goals, to be honest with you, but what a footballer he was. Oh. And more importantly, what a character. Oh. He was top quality, Willow. He really was. You know, it was one of those who, like, you know, he'd moan and groan about a lot of things, but he was always bubbly. Yeah. You know, he just non-stop.
The pigeon. Oh my God! He's I think like the stories it went on and nights out and things like that. But the best one, I think, like you can tell that people are obviously listening to this, is when he went up to Andy Gray. I don't know if he was there. He was at the Cheltenham races. He went to Andy Gray. He went, "All right, Andy, how are you?" And Andy Gray's all right. He said, "Remember me, Lee Williams? I was at Villa with you and you was a coach." And Andy Gray's, give it the old, yeah, Lee, how you doing? And Willow just went, "No, you don't." Turned around and walked off. Oh, brilliant. He just absolutely killed him, Andy Gray, in one. Just went back, see you later. But Willow, what a character. Yeah, it's some great. We didn't have that many nights out, did we, really? But when we did, there were good cracks, like because the gaffer was trying to like Cheltenham races. The gaffer would go off with like Sir Alex Ferguson, and then there'd be like phone calls. Jules, where are you? Oh, in the Guinness Village. Why? Get yourself back to the tent.
Yeah, we was expected to stay in the tent all day. Yeah.
Yeah. Go home for 8 o'clock. Yeah. Okay, gaffer. It was good lads. I think all the way.
What was
through.
Jamie like to live with, Jules? Because you mentioned a bit about Keith Hill, Jamie eating avocados. What was he like as a housemate, Jamie? Good player, wasn't he?
Yeah, a great player. I think he had this house to himself, and that the club owned and that. And then I think the gaffer realised I was travelling up and I wasn't prepared to make that move to Cheltenham at that time. And I lived there, but when I went there, there was already 4 or 5 other people living there, and it was like, well, that's my room. But Jamie, the doorbell used to go at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, the best. I can't say too much, but Jack knows. Yeah, he was just. He never ate. He'd just eat his second-hand avocados he'd get, right? And then he'd like, do you know when you had your like Tony, Keith would make me a lovely chicken and pasta, and then like you'd leave a little bit, and then me and Keith actually clocked it, so we started leaving leftovers on our dinner, and then just putting the plate there, and then we'll wash it later. Well, then you'd go back 5 minutes later, and that leftovers isn't there. It's like, so Jamie's gone, right, I don't have to buy myself a dinner today, do I? And he'd eat my leftovers. Yeah, he was like, and he used to always have his key. So Jamie, like, he had a Mercedes with the first Mercedes where you press the button on your car and the boot would pop up open, and that he'd have his key hanging out when we'd go out. But yeah, top lad. He's top lad. Joycey, you okay? You alive?
Good, yeah, all good.
Yeah, that's all right. Just checking you're alive.
That's right. Penalty shootout then. So Tony, you'd been substituted late on in the game. I think you were probably.
That's a picture of me and Jack behind.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That used to be in the kebab shop in Pittsburgh, that picture. I stopped it once.
You weren't listening earlier, Jules, when I mentioned it, no?
Probably not, no.
So it went to penalties, and Tony, you'd come off. I don't know if you would have taken one, probably would have taken one, but Jules, you stuck yours away, didn't you? But it was a nervy shootout, as they always are. Michael Duff put his wide, but I think Bookie in the end just about managed to sort of hit the bar post and hit him, and didn't it, and somehow stayed out. What do you remember about that, Jules? Because that was, did you manage to stay calm when you took your penalty?
Yeah. What people didn't know, I was a professional penalty taker in a previous life. No, you've got to be like, you just switch off. I know when I'm walking down, and there's 2 things going through my head. And the first one is every supporter in here wants me to get the ball and edit because he's got more of a chance. And then the second one is I ain't missing this, because if I did miss, I would have walked straight off the pitch, through the car park and gone into the Soodley and still probably be drinking there now, going, I'm the one that's missed the penalty. Because that's... I just remember going like, don't balls your season up, mate. You've just scored a lorry load of goals with Jack. Just put it in. And Richard Walker, Titch, said, the goalkeeper... I think if you watch the penalties, I think he dived to the right twice and dived to the left twice. So I thought he was going to go back to the right, or I can't remember what he did. So I just rolled it the other way.
Yeah.
And it looks cool as cucumber on the telly.
It does, yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was one of them. Yeah.
And
I don't even know where I put it, to be honest.
I seem to remember you putting it quite low, just calmly slotting it away. And I think Grace scored, didn't he? Yatesy, Martin Lee, and you. And I think Michael missed, and they missed 2. So you got through. And Tony, you'd been to Millennium Stadium before. Some great celebrations after that one, knowing that you'd be going to play Rushden in the final. What do you remember about that night? Did you have a proper celebration that night, or was it quite restrained because you obviously had another big game coming up?
No. I think it was quite restrained, to be honest with you. I don't. Are you talking about when I was at Port Vale or when with Cheltenham?
The Cheltenham one, because obviously you'd been there before and knew what it was all about. So to get through again to to the Millennium, how excited were you to sort of get through that semi-final?
I think, to be honest with you, I think any time you play in a final, and especially a playoff final, I did it with Crewe. We played York in the playoff finals. We were brilliant in the playoffs, absolutely brilliant. And in the final, we had too many players who just didn't play to the potential, and we lost that game. So I knew what it was like to play at Wembley and lose, and then to go to Millennium Stadium and win. And there's only one result that you want at the end of the day, and it's a win. So obviously after the game, I think when we got the third, it was a case of sort of like all we've got to do now is just shut up shop and make sure that we don't do anything stupid. I thought we played well in the final. I didn't play particularly well, but it was just great to be able to play in another final and obviously to get promotion.
Yeah. So I think, what would you have been, 34, Tony, at the time, something like that?
Yeah, probably felt about 54, but yeah, I was round about that age. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you both about Nathan Tyson, because he was a young lad, sort of having his first taste of senior football. Came in and made a few good appearances off the bench and that sort of thing. Did you see something in him that made you think he'd go on to have the career that he did? Because he did very well for himself, didn't he?
Well, I think if we're right, we called him Thierry because he looked like Henry, and the way he played was like him. And you always thought that, obviously, with a little bit more coaching, he was always eager to run in behind, and he was prepared to shoot from anywhere. So you always knew he had a chance.
Jules, what was it like? Because he was used sparingly, but he did make a bit of an impact, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was hard for anybody to come into the club at front. I know why the gaffer's done it a little bit. Fresh legs. He had me, Tony. I was fast. Tony was struggling with his injuries, and then we had Grace. And no good disrespect to Grace, because Grace is older than you, Eddie, Tone.
Yeah.
So you needed that fresh pair of legs. Again, it's another one of them ones. Never heard of him. Rocked up in the change rooms, and one of his first games, he did score a goal, didn't he? And
Kidderminster,
yeah, he come with somebody else.
Martin Lee from Wickham.
Oh, that's it. So when we won promotion, it was like he'd played like 50-odd games away. He celebrated, and then all the photos and everything. Brilliant. Yeah, great. You've done it. Right. So it's, I don't know. I tend to worry about myself than when I'm playing football than think, he's got... As you get older, you say, he has got a chance. But I was too busy scoring goals and enjoying myself playing with Jack. Sounds wrong, doesn't it?
So let's just talk a little bit about the first half, because Martin came in for Russ, who was injured, and scored a good first goal. Although there was a little bit of fortune, he did very well with a run on the left. Took his top off, celebrated over on the empty side of the stadium, but it was a good goal. And then within seconds of the restart, they scored straight away, didn't they? So I think it was Paul Hall who equalised. What was that like? As a sort of, did that take the wind out of your sails, or? Because you had about a minute to celebrate. Yeah,
to be fair, he played well. He played really well on the day. Deserved his goal. Great goal. Like I say, I think once we got the second, I think there was only, we knew we were going to go on and win it, really. But barring any stupid mistakes. But no, to be fair to Paul, he played well that day. He really did.
Yeah.
Martin
and Paul Hall, probably two of the best players on the pitch, weren't they? I think on the day.
Yeah.
Behave yourself. Behave yourself.
But Jules, what did Steve say to you? What did Steve say to you at half time? Because you went mad when you scored the goal, rightly so. But did he tell you to sort of not celebrate because of what happened with Martin's goal?
No, there's no chance of that. If I was scoring there, I was celebrating. My nan, bless her soul, that was the only game. Proud Welsh lady, not far from Cardiff. She lived in Lemons and Spa. She come down and she told all the people there, that's my grandson. So I ran over to them, and obviously Catherine, my mum and dad, had a lot of people from the Midlands. I think I swore after I ran away at the celebration. And I remember getting told off by my mum and my nan.
For swearing, yeah.
For swearing on the telly.
I think you had to celebrate after that 40-yard screamer, though, Jules.
Well, you have to, yeah. Well, I was just going to say that. There's not many people who've done that. Yeah, it's a strange one because I can remember at half time him saying, "Don't feel sorry for yourself," and I think we did slightly. It was like, well, we was winning 1-0, and it's 1-1, and I think the history between the Rushden and the Cheltenham previous, I mean, it had nothing to do with me, but I think the older players, it sort of niggled there a little bit. But I think did I score early on in the second half?
Yeah,
49th minute. Yeah,
Well,
Tony, you laid it off for him, didn't you?
Well, I wouldn't say laid it off. I was there, and I think he come off the defender and just rolled into Jules's path.
Yeah. And then I smashed it in from 30 yards via 3 players. Yeah, that was fun. But I think from that moment then, in my head, I think I think me and Tony had sorted the defenders out. And I think we'd got the better of them. And then, like Tony said, it was rather than doing something stupid, I think we'd got the game in our as a team, as a confidence. You could see sort of Rushden sort of confidence going, draining from them as the game went 5 or 10 minutes later. And then I think Finner scored, did he?
Finner scored.
I was gutted because Grace absolutely smashed one.
Oh, what a strike! What a strike!
And I think he knew that. I don't think he was ever going to make that step up, even though it was left. But I think in himself, he probably thought that's his last game. I thought when he's hit it, I've gone, what a way to finish. I can remember going, what a way to finish your career. Like, it's just, I'd have walked off. I'm proper gutted that it bounced back and it was shocking. It was probably because Finners was a little busy wasp. He's the only one that's like, oh, there you go. And then he scored. But I can just remember when he hit it, I thought, fair play.
Yeah.
Yeah, cracking strike from Grace, yeah. And it was a good finish as well.
Did you pass the ball, Tone?
I can't remember. I can
remember that. I can't remember the game much. Can't even remember like yesterday half the time. But that pass, that shot, I just I can remember just standing there and going, "Oh, that's a beauty, that."
Yeah.
And one player just probably deserved it for what he did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a.
It would have been a fitting end, yes, definitely would.
Yeah, I'd have finished the game then or just walked off the pitch if that was me.
Yeah, Finners finished it well, though, didn't he, to make it 3-1, and then you just had to see out the last 10 minutes. But I think they were beating them, weren't they? And it's funny, Brett Angel was actually on the bench for them that day and came on. So you'd taken over from him by then as the main man, I think.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the target man, the target man that you aspiring to be.
Yeah. I think the best one is Keith Hill come after the game, go on the camera and get close to him. Like I said, why? He said, just get close to him and then breathe out like you've done it sort of thing. I was like, no, Keith. But.
And Tony, how were you struggling ahead of the playoffs? You and Jules both played 90 in the final. Were you really struggling with the tendonitis then, or were you all right? Can you get through a final on adrenaline and everything like that?
To be honest with you, obviously, when I feel, I had the tendonitis when I was like 31, and I had sort of like settled it down by resting for a few months, and it didn't really come back until the Halifax game, just doing the warm up. But I was really struggling, so I was quite fortunate that Banco knew how to do like a little Varane strap, which strapped it and kept my kneecap up, and I managed to get through games. Yeah, I was in pain, but I managed to get through a lot of the games. But I just think with struggling with the knee, I didn't have the same sort of confidence going into the last few games as I had previously. And it was just taking its toll. And because we both knew, because me and Banco went straight in after the final, and obviously we, at the end of the season, we both had the same operation. We went in together. So yeah, I was struggling at that stage, and I think a lot of it was just adrenaline, just trying to get through the game. I knew I didn't play well. I knew I hadn't played particularly well in a few games leading up to that. And whether that was down to the injury or I was just having a bit of a shocker, I don't know.
So it's quite handy travelling to training with the guy that went on to become a very good physio for Stoke and Port Vale now, isn't he? So that's
exactly.
Quite handy.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I my season possibly could have ended after Halifax if it wasn't for Banco. Michael said he knew what he was talking about, and he just asked me to try it one day in training, and I tried this strap that he fitted to my knee and strapped my kneecap up, and I managed to get through the training session. And I thought, well, that's a massive difference. You know, I could still feel it, but not to the extent, because I was when I was doing the warm up at Halifax, I felt as though somebody was sticking a knife into my kneecap. So every time I put pressure on it, it was horrendous.
Yeah. So you ended with 18, which was a really good return, considering, you know, you came in without a proper pre-season. It took you a little while to get fully fit. Jules, 26, and, you know, which was probably the most prolific season of your career, was it? And supporters player of the year as well. How pleased were you to get promoted and have such a good season individually as well, which is obviously going to be a little part of it, although it's a team effort.
Yeah, it's a team effort. Don't get me wrong, 26 goals don't come from just me. It's Tony, the whole team really. It's lovely to finish it off with promotion. I mean, I'd won the league a couple of years before, and that was a team effort. And the dynamics at Swansea to win the league was smash the ball to me, I hold it up, and then we just flooded every box, every time. There's like, so I'd have held it up, played it square, turn around, and there's 6 lads in the box, and it just flooded games. And so even though we won it, and I was part of it, and everything else, it was a strange feeling, because people, I think I scored like 5 or 6 goals that season when we won the league, but people go, well, yeah, but the impact of you holding that up, let everybody steam through, and see, yeah, he won the league, and then we went to Millennium and got promoted there, and then you can sit back a little bit of satisfaction probably and say, well, yeah, we contributed the goals that got the club to that standard for the first time. Yeah. But they're just, like you say, it's just memories moving on. It's memories to a bit. I know where the shirt is, and I know where the medal is. It's at my mate's place around the corner. I'm not really into football-y type things, memorabilia. I just got a picture of Tony on the side of my bed.
Any memories of that night, guys? Because you know, surely Steve let his hair down a little bit that night, didn't he?
No, Graham Allner did.
If I remember right, for me, I wasn't part of it, because obviously my family had come up, and I ended up going back with my family in the end. So it was I think it was just a few beers after the game, and then I ended up going back. But I'm pretty sure that most of the lads were out on the town.
No, So I can remember you going back, because I was going to do the same, because I had a lot of family come up from the Midlands, and said to the gaffer, we got back to where was the hotel? Chepstow, somewhere like that, weren't it? St Pierre. So I played golf there with my mate. And on the way back, somebody said, "Oh, can my family come in?" And the gaffer went, "No." So I was like, right, when I get off this coach, I'm just getting my bag and I'm going with my family. We'll go and get a beer in Bristol or something. And I said to the gaffer, I'm going to shoot off, because I want to, as much I want to spend and celebrate it with the team. I said, I've got like 20, 30 people that have come to watch me from the Midlands. And he went, "What are you on about?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go and drink with them because they're my family, and that's who I want to spend the time with." And he was like, he's looked and he's gone, "I'll tell them to come in." And then my mum and dad and like 30 others, it was a free bar. So you imagine 30 people from the Midlands on the free bar. And then me and Catherine, we stayed. Obviously the club put us up in the rooms and that. And a few of the players that got promoted the second time were found on the golf course on the 18th hole. It was a good night. And Graham Allner absolutely was brilliant doing the song. And my mum's going, "Who's that man running around in his pants?" Well, we didn't know this at the time, but I wish I could have turned around and said, "That's the next manager."
Exactly.
So it was a good night celebrations. But like Tony, you want to be with your family or your friends and that more. And football's it's strange because people say, "Oh, your mates." Not really. I've got football mates, but I've got proper mates like that I go away with, and you're drinking the Strat, like they say, Guy and all them in Cheltenham now, they're all rugby lads, so I go and watch the rugby with them lot. And like you say, do you work in a warehouse and want to go drinking with the people you work in the warehouse with? No. So that's my attitude with it all. And it was. I can remember it was a good night. And then the next day, me, Willow, John Brough went into Cheltenham. And then the day after that, he had us in training, didn't he, the gaffer? Yeah. He made us do laps around the Folly.
Yeah.
After promotion.
After promotion, we had to do a 12-minute run.
Yeah, that's right.
I was breathing out of my backside. I'm saying, I'm like that. I've been on the drink for 3 days, and I was like, oh my word. And then he had individual chats with us, didn't he?
Yeah.
And there was still no inkling that he was going to.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Stoke. He was like he released players, and he used to do it really like you'd be running around it, couldn't you? Go, okay, your turn. And he goes, how do you think you did this year? You can't really say to the gaffer because the sort of person he was. Oh, fantastic! I was the best, me and Tony, best thing in the world. Like you just, I think I could have done a little bit better. Well,
was this before the bus tour, Jules? Or after the bus tour?
No, the bus tour must have been after.
I can't believe he ran you after winning the playoff final.
Yeah, ran us around the Folly. Oh, I used to hate that Folly. Pre-season, Tony never really did it because we moved to the seasons after. But that Folly, that was horrible because the gaffer was run, and he was from certain characters in Cheltenham who he knew would bring players down on trial. And I don't know if he was there one time. He put some kid was scoring goals for Wadden FC on a Saturday, coming to trial. So that day, when the trialists come in, you knew he was running because he'd go, right, you've got to be this fit. So you just needed, because he was from Cheltenham and people would just stop him, give this lad a trial. So that's why probably a lot of people seen our training and went, forget it. The Folly was brilliant though. The police officers driving past in their car with talking out the siren going, Cheltenham Town, la la la, as we're training. Bonkers. But yeah, after that we had to do a run, 12-minute run.
Unbelievable. So, Tony, you signed a 2-year deal, hadn't you? So, and Jules, you were contracted for the following year. What do you remember when you found out Steve was going? Because obviously he'd signed both of you. Was that, were you disappointed, or did you sort of half expect him to move on to a bigger job at that point?
For me personally, I was disappointed because obviously I think Steve's strengths were his man management, and the way he pushed you and the way that he got the best out of you. Which for me is what I needed. Coming to the end of my career, I could easily have sort of like took my foot off the gas and just thought, well, it is what it is. But no, like I said, I was disappointed when he went, but then I was quite pleased when Graham got the job because I thought, as a footballing coach, Graham knew his stuff. Unfortunately, I think he got Paul Brayson in. And I think in one of the first meetings that I had with Graham, he more or less told me that I wasn't going to play every game because he'd brought obviously a younger version in, which was, I understood that. I was disappointed with it because I need to be playing week in, week out to stay fit and stay sharp. So it was disappointing, but obviously you respect the guy and you do whatever you need to do for the team.
And Damien Spencer came in as well, Jules, another big, powerful striker. I mean, what was it like, Graham? Graham had been there as a coach, he worked alongside Mike Davis and Steve for a couple of seasons. Is that difficult, do you think, changing from that to then becoming the manager? Do you think that was a difficult transition for him?
Massive one, I think. Because Graham wasn't... The gaffer was a trait, like, he was in control of everything. And then, like, Graham and Mike was a perfect foil for him in a very quiet... and I wish all his family and everything well with what's gone on. But with Graham, I just never got on with him. I'll be honest, I ain't got nothing to think. I just didn't like... I'd gone from... We used to have training sessions that were really intense to, like, with a goal on the 18-yard line and a goal on the halfway line, and the game's really intense. Training was really intense for the gaffer before. And then the year after, like, the goals were turned on the sides. The goal was only, like, that high. And I just wanted to score goals. So... For me, and then obviously that conversation that Jack's just said there about Paul Brayson coming in. I think he re-signed Hugh McCauley, and we just needed. There were just a couple of things we needed to tweak. Yeah, bring Brayson by all means, and bring Damien in. We didn't really give us a run, did he, Tone? If I'm honest,
no.
It was a strange one, and then we played Sheffield United. I'm going to say Sheffield United in the FA Cup, and he said, "Oh,
last game, yeah."
Well, the one at Bramall Lane.
Yeah,
that's where they play. At Bramall. Yeah, well, he said he tried to flog me because he told me before the game he was playing Spence. He said, "Oh, you can go." Well, I was like, "Yeah, fine, whatever. Don't bother me." Told me I could go, and I think I was going to go to QPR. I mean, because Ian Holloway was the manager, so there was a phone calls here, and there was a couple of others. But yeah, Graham, like Tony says, I'm not going to take away his footballing knowledge and brain is second to none. I just think it was. If you look back now, an ageing squad that probably had their own agendas. Some of the players, and the. It was an Asian squad, and there wasn't the money. It's not like you signed Embrace and you signed Hugh McCauley, and then when you re-signing somebody, you always think, well, we must be short of money or something.
Yeah.
And look, we all knew we all knew that it was going to be a struggle in that division.
Yeah.
But I think it could have been handled differently, and so to me, just one of them. I was disappointed, I think, when Steve went, but you can't stop the gaffer from going where he went.
Yeah.
Well, Tony might, because he don't like Stoke.
Well, no, to be honest with you, I thought I might get a chance of another move to Stoke, but there you go.
I thought I was going. I did. I was like, I can remember he actually phoned me up, and I'd been to Alton Towers for the day, because I don't like rides. And Catherine said to you, look, I've got makeup on, that my kids are mental, best kids in the world. But my wife knows I don't like going on the rides and that. She took me to Alton Towers for my birthday. And then the gaffer phones, and I'm useless with phones. Like, I didn't have his number in my phone. It's like, hello? And then straight away I knew it was him. And he went, just, look, you've done really fantastic. What's going on? He said, well, I've taken a job at Stoke. And you can only wish him all the best then, can't you?
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen him since I was at Cheltenham the last time, a few years back, and I've seen him the other week in Bristol. I was out going to that escape rooms in Bristol, and he was walking through. So we had a quick chat. Told me I was overweight.
Tried to run you, did he?
Yeah. Can you run them steps in Cabot Circus? Yeah, I was gutted. I think, but I knew you knew it was going to come. He was like what he'd done in the game to a date. And like you say, he's gone on and had a fantastic career with promotions with a few clubs now, hasn't he?
I think whoever took over from him was going to find it difficult, weren't they? And Graham, I think, liked a 4-3-3, didn't he? When you'd had so much success with the 4-4-2, with the wide men getting crosses in, and I think he tried to change the style of play quite drastically, didn't he, in a higher division? And obviously, everyone will have their opinion on whether he should have been given longer or whether it was right. But he went in January. With the club obviously struggling as they probably would have done under any manager, really. But what was it like for Bobby coming in? Did Bobby fancy you two a bit more, do you think, or was it just chaos then?
Can I just say, right, Jack, you'll have to say, because I'm like things stick in your mind and that. Did he on his first day when he said?
Oh my God!
He went he named basically like Little Duffo, Mike, all the young players on contract. Go to the right-hand side of the room. And then he left his squad, because all the old ones that were playing weekend were on the left-hand side of the room. And he went, you lot here, pointing to me, Tony, Yatesy and all them, you've got to get to that side of the room and earn yourself a contract. I was like, did that happen, or am I just bonkers? And
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, for everything that he's done in the game, before he came to Cheltenham, I have to say, whoa, was I disappointed in many ways. I'll never forget, what was it? In training, we had throw-head catch and we played rugby.
Yeah, and stop the ball on the line.
And he used to play you on right wing. and we pinged diagonal balls, and it was for me. It wasn't an enjoyable time. I mean, I wish Graham had got more time, even though I wasn't playing. I think we had a better chance with Graham than we did with Gouldy, to be fair, because I just think he came in and he changed so many things, and he tried to do with Cheltenham what he'd done, like maybe with Wimbledon, but it wasn't the same. We weren't the same.
Yeah, no, he was trying to wrestle Damien Spencer, weren't he, as well, on the floor?
Yeah, I mean,
in the circle. It was just bonkers.
It was, and I'll never forget, like, he sort of, like, not long after he'd been there, he'd more or less said, I'd signed a 2-year contract with an option of a 3rd year on the club's part if they wanted me to stay. And obviously I loved it. I absolutely loved my time there. And he pulled me in and he just said to me one day, he just said, listen, he said, I'm just letting you know that you can start looking for another club because we're not renewing your contract. And I just went, okay, fair enough. But obviously you get your head down. And then I think there was like 6 games to go and he comes to me and says, look, we're really in we need your help. And obviously I'll give it my all, and and any of the supporters will know that, just in the same way that Jules will. But it was such a disappointment to, for somebody to come in and just ruin what was already there.
Yeah, I think what, if you look back now, and hindsight's a great thing, what Graham Allner needed was to use. He wasn't playing Tony as much, so he should have used Tony's knowledge because we didn't. We had Graham and Mike, but they're not football league experience, if you know what I mean. Because Graham was very successful in the Kidderminster era conference and that, but we was just missing another. If you ain't going to use Jack's still getting the same money. Just use his knowledge and his. And I think it was a very with the two. He's the manager, and it was the players. And then he just brought Bobby Gould in, and then he brought in some bloke, didn't he? Do you remember that bloke, Tone? He set us in the circle.
Oh, he was like the psychologist and all that.
The guru and that. The
guru, yeah.
Yeah, come in as the guru and this Jaguar convertible, get us all in a circle. And bearing in mind, this wasn't on the scene like it is now. Stand up. Hello, my name's Jules. I'm a big gay giraffe that loves a beer and alcoholic. And then somebody else stood. Willow said to me, I can carry the pigeon. And it was just, what? And this bloke come in, and then all of a sudden, I used to drink in the conservatory wine bar on a Saturday, and then all of a sudden this bloke's walking past after the games. There's just a few things that happened then that sort of finished me with the going forward. I'd already made my mind up. It was a sort of a shame, but
he tried a few things, didn't he? He put Higgsy in instead of Bookie. He played Bruffy up front a bit with the lone lad, Marvin Brown was it? And then he did, drew a lot of games under Bobby and got to the last day of the season still with a chance. And you were both involved in that game. I think, Tony, Jules, you might have come on at half time in that game against Notts County. And what do you remember about that one? Because you nearly did it, didn't you? You nearly stayed up against all the odds, really.
Yeah. I can't really remember the Notts County game. I can't even remember what the result was because I've had a couple of dodgy results at Notts County. So I sort of.
It was 1-0 for them. 1-0.
Was it? I reckon it was Bruffy's cousin that scored. It was John Bruff's cousin.
Michael Bruff.
Yeah, I reckon he scored. Because I know Bruff. I know both of them, obviously.
It's actually Danny Alsop, I think.
Well, there you go. It was me then that scored. I think it was a relation.
But Michael played.
Yeah. No, I don't know, because I think I was come back. So basically, in training, a few weeks before, it was March, I clattered my knee. You know when you take a shot and then your knee drops anyway. So I go into ice it. And I go back to the place, and Sky TV weren't out then, I don't think. So it was teletext, and somebody rang me and went, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, if I've got a sore knee." Like, well, you've not read teletext. And Bobby Gould had put on teletext that done me cruciate ligament. Just like that, cheers. And I'm out of contract in like 3 months' time, and he's telling the world that I've got a bad cruciate. So I come on. I was out, then come on a couple of times, and then we played Brentford, and I
was going to
off.
ask you about that one. I mean, what angered you so much that day? What, I know, think emotions and stuff sometimes in certain games, but something that day pushed you over the edge, didn't it? What was it about that game?
He's a cheat. So Leo Roger, he spat and then he tried to do a little punch, and then when I turned around and went, right, let's have it, and I put my arms up against him, and then it kicked off, and then he said something, and as we went to the side, he says, I'll come down, and it was giving all this garbage, I'll get you, I know where you live, I'll come. I was like, look, I'll give you an address, and I knew Wally Downs, and we got to the Bobby Gould, and Neil Howarth escalated it again, and then Wally Downs and who's the old? They used to have an old midfielder, hard as nails. He was a coach there, and I know him. And he went, "Go on, Jules, have a fight in the dugout." Said, "Don't do it on the side of the pitch. Go into the change rooms and have it." So it was going down the side of the pitch. The police come, and then he went again. Started going, "I'll find their family," and I'm like, "Right, you're having it." And then they put him in the change room, then said to me, put me in the change room. But I was going back to the Midlands after the game, and there was a lot of hatred with the fans in that. And I wear glasses. And I was wearing a cap at the time. So I put my tracksuit on, put my glasses on, put my cap on, and all these supporters, when's Alsop coming out? I said, about 5 minutes, mate. I just walked straight past them. I got on the train. I got myself 4 cans, sat on the train because I was going back to Coventry. And I was chatting to the Brentford fans, and then they clocked on and that. But
What started it? What was it? Just little niggles during the game? Or?
It was a niggle, and then he's chucked a little rabbit punch, and then give it the old one like that. And I've just gone, nah, let's have it. So it escalated. It was farcical. I'm not proud of it, but I also stand my corner on a lot of things with that. Did
Bobby reprimand you, or was he quite supportive of that situation?
I think it was supportive. I think because it was calming down, and then him and Neil Howarth, I can almost remember running up, and they sort of fueled it again. So I was like, well, I'm chilled out about it. I've literally got like a 30. If I'm going to lose it, I'll lose it, and then it's done and dusted. There, he didn't find me. He didn't find me. Just angry with what happened. It was just all a rabbit punch, and then fast forward, I go to Oxford, and I come into training, and the lads are like that, and Macca, rest his soul, that's passed away now, and Woody, they were like that. And I was like, and they put the thumbs up. I was like, yeah, fine, yeah. And then Macca got up and come and sat right next to me. I was like, what the hell's going on? He went, we've signed Leo Rouge. I went, where? I said, you're taking the mick, aren't you? And he went, no. So I was going to like that. I said, right, me and you, you're having it. Let's sort this one out. And then they stopped it. And then when we went training, he come over and apologised. I said, look, yeah, accepted. And then about 4 minutes later, he was in a heap on the floor where Mac had just gone straight through him and gone, like, you've ever won the jewels.
So were you all right with him after that, though, in terms of being teammates?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, fine. It was just the way that finished at that game at Brentford, and then ironically, you see him 4 or 5 months later.
Yeah.
One of them. Fun and games.
So did you both know, going to Notts County, trying to keep Cheltenham up, did you both know you were going to be moving on at the end of the season by that time? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Tony, you definitely did, didn't you? So
yeah.
What was that like for you that day, going there with so much at stake, knowing that you'd probably be playing for another club, or knowing you're going to be playing for another club the following season?
Yeah, you don't think like that. Yeah, I don't anyway.
No, I didn't until the final whistle, and then after the final whistle of the Notts County game, that sort of like really hit me then, because I'd really enjoyed my 2 years at Cheltenham. In fact, I wouldn't say enjoyed it; I'd say I absolutely loved it. So knowing that, that it was all over and done with, was a real disappointing feeling. And I think the way the fans were with me from day one was just unbelievable. They were fantastic with me. Can never thank them enough for that. It was an amazing time. And like I say, when you come to the end of your career, you want to go out enjoying your football. And I really enjoyed it. But no, I was pretty sad after the game. But these things happen. There's not a lot you can do about it. And to be honest with you, like I say, I was ready to retire.
Yeah. And you went to Telford, I think, didn't you, after that? Was that your next club?
Yeah, well, that was...
Telford? Yeah.
I'd retired, to be honest with you. I'd retired, and then sort of like early September, I got a phone call from Telford, because Lee Mills, my strike partner at Port Vale, did ask it. I think John Grant had got suspended for 3 weeks, and they just wanted somebody for 3 weeks. So they asked me if I would go down, obviously because I knew Millsy, and that's why I went there. And then again, like I say, we did really well there, but obviously it wasn't to be in the end.
Neil Howarth was there as well, wasn't he? I think from
that's
Cheltenham.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of experienced players there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Jules, you'd had like Tony had 2 years at the club. You'd had 3 years at the club. One sort of finding your feet and doing all right. Then you had the brilliant season. Then you had a season that was a struggle in the high level, but it was the first time Cheltenham had ever been there. So what was it like for you signing off after so many sort of, well, mainly ups really, but obviously finished on a disappointing note at Notts County?
My one was, I hadn't decided I was definitely going. I had a lot to weigh up in terms of, I like Cheltenham as a place to live, but I just exhausted. I was exhausted with the football club in terms of, it sounds like we're having a thing with Bobby Gould. I love Bobby Gould to bits and that, but I just didn't need it. And I think I needed a new challenge. I had this thing in my head that I never stayed at the club for longer than 2 or 3 years. Because I'd just get bored. So but I wasn't sure where I was going. Oxford wasn't really on my radar of clubs to go, and me and Catherine had obviously discussed moving. I've got an option to go to QPR with Ian Holloway, and that was on the cards. We even went and looked at houses down in Oxford. What are you doing with your computer, Tony?
Sorry, I'm putting my charger in.
So and then it was the conversation that Bobby Gould brought a new assistant in, and they said, "Oh, we're prepared to do." He used to probably go up the stairs at seasons to his office, so I went in as a end of season thing, still unsure what I was going to do, and he made me an offer, and I just went, "Thanks, all the best." And then he come as I got to the stairs, he shouted down another offer in front of players. "Well, I'll get on back if I give you this." And that finished it. I just went, "Nah, I'm off." And I was still a long way. Doncaster had expressed an interest. When I come out of contract, it tended to be the same time as Leo Fortune West. So we just got clubs are phoning up, "What you're doing?" I wasn't keen on moving up north. I would never move to a club in London. I just think me and London just won't get on. I like going there visiting, but I turned Leyton Orient down before I'd signed for Cheltenham, and what they offered was ridiculous money. But I just don't want to live in London. Tony, you keep swapping. Yeah. You two keep swapping. Joyce is not moved, and you two keep swapping on the street.
Well, I'm not moving. I'm sat here.
That's the most you've moved in 20 years, Tony. He's frozen. But,
I mean, Tony, your chapter at Cheltenham was over, and it will always be fondly remembered. But Jules's wasn't quite done yet. He disappeared for a few years, but then in 2009, he was playing against Cheltenham in a friendly for Cleve, and Martin Allen obviously he caught Martin Allen's eye, Jules, and I don't think anyone really expected what happened next to happen. But we've got to touch on that. The second coming of Alsop at Cheltenham. What was that like for you at the
time? As mad as it reads, and people like what they are. But I'd playing for Clee. I basically left Newport. I was finishing off my degree at Newport, and then Adi Vivash was manager at Cirencester. Played for them. He left to go to Chelsea, and Brian Hughes and I wasn't really enjoying it, if I'm honest. And Brian Hughes was the man, took over as the manager, and brilliant. First, Brian Hughes, brilliant. Him and his assistant manager sat down with me after, and he went, "Oh, we're going to go through the team Saturday." So, myself, another lad, named the team, and left the goalkeeper spare. And he went, "This is how." And Brian Hughes and the assistant manager both went, "See, this is how bad the club is. He doesn't even know 11 players." And I just went, "King is on a wedding. Tom King's on a wedding on Saturday, so you need to find yourself a goalkeeper." No, it wasn't that thick. And I thought, I'll come home, and I went to my missus. I ain't playing anymore. And I knew Jacko, and Jacko spoke to Collie. So I met Collie, and I knew Collie anyway. And we struck a deal. 4 chickens, some beef, and some beer money. And I'd seen the season there, and then at that end of that season, did I go for? End of that season, he said, "Come on, we can get promotion from this. Get yourself fit." So I got myself fit. Went on holiday, come back, and we played Cheltenham. And I wasn't going to play because I'd just come back off holiday. And he said, "You're playing Cheltenham, just do it." And then it was their first team defence. So, and then Drisser put his head down, and I booted it, I think. And I loved Drisser. Yeah. And then Martin said to me, and I said, "You get back in your dugout." And all like Ian Wesley, physio, was laughing, going, "Brilliant. Somebody's put the gaffer, Mad Dog, in his place." And then after the game, he says, "What are you doing with yourself?" So I'm on the point, going home, doing uni, young family. He said, "I'll see you training Monday." Yeah. And then Monday comes. Where's his phone? He says, "Gaffer's going mad. Where are you?" I said, "What are you on about? Where am I?" "I'm at home in the garden." And then he said, he either phoned up or come round my garden. He come to my house a couple of times, and then Catherine said, "Look, don't have any regrets." And I wasn't going to go. My time was done. I knew him. I was like, oh. So I went, and then just realised how bad of a shambles the club had turned into. And I'll defend Martin in terms of players were given contracts under the John Ward and the other manager. I can't remember his name. Little bloke. It was the manager after John Ward.
Keith Downing.
Sorry, I'm useless with that. And they were given contracts, and the team weren't performing very well. And Martin Allen's an easy manager to get in to get rid of players. So I think that a lot of that would have been easy because Martin Allen wouldn't give a monkeys. Like there's a lot of managers would feel bad about releasing players. So I think it was annoyed into nothing, and then his antics of being Martin. And then he said, "Come pre-season training." I did the first week, and then I put my kit, went, cheers, didn't say goodbye or anything. I just went, and then he phoned up and went, "I want you down at Western-super-Mare on the Saturday." Yeah. Scored, and then they were singing that song that they sang all year, "Your beer drinking, your chain smoking," and that. And I think he realised then there was a connection, and I think he needed that at the same time. And they got a team that, to be honest, I was 36, I was fit, but there's no way in the world I should go out of the game for 4 years and then go back into the Football League and play. If I went back as a a forward coach, and then come on the odd game, I ended up playing involved in virtually. I missed one game all year, and that was Bournemouth away. So
incredible, isn't it? What happens, really? Tony, did you? We'll come back to you in a minute, Jules. But Tony, do you remember when Jules went back to Cheltenham? Did you notice and did you think, "Oh, what's going on there? What's he doing back there?" And did you keep an eye on how he did?
Well, to be honest with you, for me, it was. I didn't know at the time. It was much later when I found out Jules had gone back. Because, like I say, when I retired, I sort of I didn't really get involved too much with football. Yeah. It was like, right, I'll play for as long as I can and then get out of it. And I basically did that, and it was only probably later on that I found out that Jules had actually gone back, and I was quite surprised, obviously because of the time length in between. But the fact of the matter is, I know Jules likes to drink, and he comes across as not being fit, but I always felt for such a big lad, he was fit, especially in the running sessions. You know, he always did all right. And at the end of the day, I think when you're somebody like Jules and you've got that experience, you tend to be able to manage playing in games a little bit more when you've got that experience. You know not to make stupid runs outside the box and get involved too much. You just want to be there on the end of things.
You didn't get a phone call then, Tony, as well, asking to reunite?
No, not at all. No, believe me, it would have been a strict no because my legs would have gone by then.
You seen how hard it is to track him down? It took me 18 months to find him.
Last time we got together.
I didn't see.
Last time me and Jules got together, we met up at the post house, and we both got a parking ticket.
Tickets, parked the car and had a coffee. I was coming back from Manchester. Brilliant.
But there was quite a nice little story going on in the background, Jules, isn't there? Because you scored 35 Football League goals for Cheltenham. You had the record. I think you broke Grant McCann's records, and then Martin got the records, and then you came back, and it was quite a nice little goal for you. I know there was bigger things at stake in terms of keeping the club up, but you got the 39 squad number as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that was again. That's like their manager's little quirks, isn't there? I didn't know. Obviously, people had made a comment that you can get the goals record because it's massive. It's massive, 39 goals. Should have a statue, really, shouldn't I? In the car park. I've got one. I've got a plaque at Swansea. He was only there 2 years. They're going to be on their Wall of Fame. I should have a statue, but no. Go on.
So firstly, you got that winner against Keith Hill's lot at Rochdale. What was that like? Because having lived with him, and that was your first goal, I believe, back in the Football League, wasn't it? Rochdale away.
Yeah, I got that. You
have a chat with Keith?
Yeah, I had a chat. Obviously, I had a chat before the game in his office, and then during the game, as I was going on the pitch, he don't you even think about it, scoring but there's different words said. I think Barry Ailes went down, and I stuck a leg out. I got out of my wheelchair, basically, stuck a leg out. The goalkeeper's thinking there's no way in the world he's going to get there, and somehow I did, and it sort of went about 2 miles an hour over the line. I think I ran back celebrating quicker than I actually did trying to get to the ball.
A goal's a goal.
Yeah, that's it. Then after the game, I had a few. It was mad because when I went back the second time, I was probably in different managers' offices because you knew them. So I was having a beer with Keith Hill after the game, and listen, I'm one of them ones where I'll have a beer in front of anybody. There's players in football that will only drink when there were certain places. Me, I've worked hard. I'm having a beer. If you've got a problem with it, tough. And then Martin Allen, that's like going to work, isn't it? With Martin Allen, he was going, "What are you doing in the air?" I know Keith really well. And then Keith was like, when we beat them 1-0, you could see they were a good side. Yeah. Really, they were the Keith Hill that he'd been building to that, and it obviously proven he's brilliant. He can get players and he can get them running through brick walls as much as Steve Cotterill can, but I think he also played a little bit better football than perhaps we did.
Yeah, but you got your records. You kept Cheltenham up, and I don't think people ever possibly give you the credit for the role you played in keeping Cheltenham up that year, because you got Player of the Year again, which says a lot. But it was a real battle to stay up that year, wasn't it? Even Master Yatesy came in. You had some tough games, and you got the job done.
Rubbish. What the difference in 4 years is people like Tony Naylor, Chris Banks, been there, done it, and you got young players coming in that thought they'd done it, and they're not. I think it went soft. Football has gone soft, and
they're more interested in the car on the car park than they are what happens
and the watch and their body. Whereas if you look at mine and Tony Naylor's bodies when we were playing, I mean, it looks all right there, but it worked perfect. And we weren't body image conscious. Yet you'd come in and you'd see the look of Adonis's, some of these with these ripped things, and you poke them with your finger, and you're like, they just fall over. And this was when I went back and I think like the 4th or 5th game I played, I'd come on the sub a couple of times and I was just finding my feet. And I was like, is this what football's come to? They are soft. I mean, they've got the bodies and that, but they haven't got that. But I think football's changed anyway and gone this middle class era where, like when I was playing and Tony was playing, there was the centre halves would give you a whack and you'd give them a whack, and some you didn't get on with and some you did. When I went back, there was a lot of. I shouldn't be playing. I shouldn't have been playing, but I did. I've done that. As for the credit and Molly had the players' trophy thing. She had kept pencils in it or something like that. But like I say, I've got no football memorabilia. You're wearing it. My mates have got the kit. It's a job I did, and you move on.
But if somebody had told you when you were playing against Cheltenham for Cleve pre-season that by the end of that year you'd have second-time Supporters Player of the Year at Cheltenham, would you have believed them?
Yes. No. I didn't know. I wasn't even going to play for Cleve, 100%. I was like, I could have ducked in and ducked out. And then you get that. Catherine's a very little put. Go on, try and do it. And it fitted in nicely. I was just finishing my final year at uni, so it fitted in nicely. But again, the standard of play. I mean, there's good players there. Josh Lowe, fantastic player in that, but just a lot of players that was soft. That league had gone really soft. Probably still is. I'll probably lace my boots now and got a little bit fit. It's not because I'm not going to run. It's the positioning. You're not going to take the position off me. There's a video going around with Maradona, size of a house, but the ball's going 40 foot in the air. But you're never going to lose that, and I'm not going to lose my positioning. I know where to stand on the pitch. If a goalkeeper can kick it and I can get within 2 or 3 yards, he can still do it. Yeah. Would I do it? No, I wouldn't. But yeah, I've done it. The main thing is that the club stayed in the league, because I don't think if it had gone down at that stage, I don't think it would have come back like it did when they went down under Gary. There was a bit of we've got to get the club back on. I think the club was right at rock bottom, where there was disinterest from the town, and investment and what had gone on. So we kept him in the league, and obviously Mark, over the next couple of years, built a good side. I think.
Yeah, I just got one more question. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I've got one more question for both of you before I let you enjoy your evening. But Jules, Martin Allen, everyone had a different experience to Martin Allen, and some players, he didn't fancy and he got rid of pretty quickly. Other players responded well to him. What was he like for you? Because he obviously gave you the opportunity. A unique character. What was he like to play for you that season?
Oh, it drove you nuts. He pulled me off at Bury when I was looking forward to smashing Effie Sodji. I just wanted to kick him all over the pitch. He pulled me off there, and I thought I was doing all right. And he pulled me off and he drove you nuts, absolutely drive you nuts. And he pulled me off on one game, and I thought I was doing all right. And then he turned up at our house with 4 cans of Guinness, a bottle of wine, and a bag of potatoes, and a tin of sweet corn. He said, "Look, just come in." It's like one of them. So, and I was listen, if Martin Allen was my manager at 22, 23, we'd have been fighting, because it would have just been like, I'd have drove him mad and he'd have drove me mad, and it'd been clash. How old was I when I was playing there? 36, 37? Yeah. 38 when I finished, whatever it was. Past caring by then. Say what you got to say and get on with it. I'm playing in the Football League here, and that's it, end of the day.
Yeah. And Tony, just cheers for that, Jules. And Tony, you coming up to 20 years on now from when you were at Cheltenham. When you look back, you had a good career at a good level and scored a lot of goals. How do you reflect on, or what stands out for you about that time at Cheltenham, would you say?
The biggest thing I can say about Cheltenham Town is I loved every second of it. I thought the travelling into work, the distance would become an issue. And I think if driving an hour and a half, 2 hours, or sometimes 3 hours going home, if that doesn't put you off, it tells you that something's right. And like I said, I love the club. I love the people in the club, the teammates, physio, everything. The supporters were what any footballer will tell you. If you get a good rapport with the supporters, it makes your life so much easier. And they made me feel so welcome, and I loved every single second of it. That's why I wished I'd have had that third year there. I could easily have gone and looked for something else, but no, I actually wanted to stay. But so I'd like to say thank you to everybody who made me feel so welcome at the club.
Well, you're a legend, Jack. That's why, mate.
Cheers, Jules. Thanks, mate. So are you,
mate. No, but without doubt, I mean, possibly the best forward that's graced the football club. It's only relatively young in its infancy of football league and that, but it's sheer quality. I'd have paid to watch you, and I don't pay to watch football full stop because of one of them. But he was a player, and he done everything right, Jack. Even Siri's agreeing with you.
Appreciate it, mate. Cheers, thank you.
Yeah. By the way, where do you get your curtains from?
John Lewis.
Yeah, I bet you did. They're not big time.
Where'd you get your lipstick?
What are you doing? Joycey, what books you got in the background, big man?
Got some Sherlock Holmes. Some
there we go.
Yeah.
Here's one for. Hey, Joycey, here's one for you. Joycey, here's one for you. What's the biggest ant?
What's the biggest ant?
Yeah. Elephant.
See you well, Jules.
Yeah.
Right, guys. That was absolutely brilliant. Thanks very much for your time. 44 goals in a season together. Certainly hit it off, and great memories of that promotion and the FA Cup run. So
yeah, I can't believe he made me wear makeup. Jack told me to wear a fancy dress, and he's like, "That stitched me right up." Love you all. Hope everybody's safe. See you on the other side.
You too, mate.
Thank you to FDB Builders for sponsoring today. ACG Financials, thank you. Yeah, thank you for sponsoring.
Yeah, we'll have to get that game of golf as well, Jules.
Yeah. Can we just tell the story about the game of golf when Bobby Gould was the manager?
Yeah. Go ahead.
We was in the Brickhampton having a game of golf, and this bloke was like, he was the manager, weren't he? And he said, "I'll get you a golf trolley." And we were playing Luton Town in the evening. Sticks out, and he says, "What, you two playing golf?" I said, "All right, we'll have a cart. We're all right. We're not playing. We're out of Bobby Gould's thing. I'm sub, Tony sub, and that. So we'll have a game of golf." And we get back to track. Nobody should know we've even been to play golf, but this bloke was one of the first keyboard warriors, because they love a little keyboard, don't they? Faceless freaks, and they're all like that. And he put on there, Tony Naylor and Jules was playing golf club. It's like, I just remember, and it's like, how does anybody know? And I didn't know anything about the internet. I didn't even know how to have an email address at that time, because nobody did. But he was like, we were going there, oh yeah, Bobby Gould, yeah, whatever. And he just put it all on this keyboard, didn't he? Telling the world. But, brilliant. But I used to play some good golf with Jack. Me and Jack go with the golf trolley, buggy. Nice game of golf. We were good players. Shocking. Shocking.
Yatesy was quite handy, wasn't he? Yatesy was quite handy at golf, wasn't he? In Duffer, or who was the best?
Oh, there were some good players. Yeah. Me and Jack just did it as a. I suppose.
No, I think we had nicknames as Zig and Zag.
Yeah. But just brilliant. Like, just go and have a game of golf. We've got a game tonight. Tony's come down early. You come back to ours, have a bit of lunch, go the game and that. But that's it. He's gone now, isn't he, John? His credits run out on his.
Got that golf.
Yeah, he's gone to play golf. So, Tone, I shall see you soon.
Yeah, mate.
Joycey, fantastic.
John Palmer's done thanks very much, guys, for this. Really appreciate it.
No worries. No pleasure.